All right, what's good, y'all? So, essentially, right, we talking about these playoffs because, yeah, your boy was definitely doing a lot of the guessing and telling and futures and so with the Cavs. Let's start with the Cavs. I said about 2 weeks ago, or was it last week? I don't remember. It was while I was watching It Is What It Is episode with Cam and Mace and Stat. And essentially, what I knew about the Cavs, and I do know what told me this, and it had nothing to do with James Harden or Donovan Mitchell. It actually had to do more with, and it actually had nothing to do with James Harden or Donovan Mitchell, not the stars, right? It actually had a lot to do with the team and the psyche of them. So I'm sure we can all understand that we don't know these players personally or nothing like that. So when you're trying to do your best, when you're gauging somebody, you're always taking the actions of them, what they do, how they do it, and where they are into account, everything. And the one thing that I noticed about the Cavs is that they honestly had never been in that position, at least not this team. Okay, so Braun has already taken that team and done great things with them. But if you think about it in like a Lakers fashion, because the Lakers make us understand the different teams, right? Because they've been so caught up on their legacy, their dynasties. And so have we in the public, right? Like Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, all the great players that have played in LeBron, all the great players that have played with the Lakers, the fans and the organization does their best in either pushing that dynamic or folding it in some sort of way, shape, or form. You get what I'm saying? So what I would say about the Cavs is that I noticed that not that I noticed, because it wasn't like showing that the lights were too bright for them. But it was more so that I knew it, right? It's kind of like somebody saying that they're ready to go out there and perform on stage. It's their biggest dream. It's been their biggest dream. But for that reason, there's some nerves that come with that. And if they haven't taken care of those nerves, or if they haven't gone through failures in a way that it means like, hey, this could happen, that could happen, that could happen, and then learn how to deal with that, they actually might not deal with that. And so that was the whole situation that was happening with that team. It was actually kind of bad for them, because you're playing a team that's gone there before, been here before, and not only that, they've been winning since before playing you. So we're talking about the Knicks now. We got to just understand that Cavs weren't ready. They weren't going to be ready. Lights was too bright, whatever you want to say. So let's go to the next team where the lights is too bright, because there's only 3 teams left. And I'll tell you it like this. I think everybody is looking how Wemby is playing, how OKC is playing. But if we look at it for what it's worth, OKC is the only team that's been here, done that. And I think they are going to want to do it again. And I think the Spurs and the Knicks, they have 2 things. They have one thing in common, and that's the fact that they're hungry. Both of these teams want the championship without a doubt. But only one of them, which is the Knicks, can make that happen this year. So I'm stamping it that Spurs will not win this championship. Let's take this into account. So we have, give me a second. So take this into account, right? We have San Antonio, we have OKC. As of right now, as I'm making this joint, it's about an hour away from the actual game itself. But OKC is leading 3-2. I believe that the Spurs have that ability to use that grit, their determination to win over OKC, right? They can tie the series. They might even beat them in the series. But the thing that they're lacking is experience, right? So Wemby has been in the playoffs, finals before, but the rest of his team, you know, Stephon Castle, Carter Bryant, there's a lot of other people. These guys, they could be like, this entire team, honestly, they're kind of resembling the Bulls. And so the way that this team has kind of come together, they have stayed with one another in the way that their future progression, right? So they're already fighting for the championship now. So imagine if what the Spurs do in the next couple of games is completely blow your mind, which is what they want to do. They want to be able to tie the series. They want to be able to tie the series, and then they want to win the series. But I think that's where it stops for them. You know what I mean? Like, I think once they get to that championship final, lights are going to be too bright for all those young players. And the only people that actually might deal with it as well as, you know, are better than I thought, might be Stephon Castle. Stephon seemed like he's ready, but skill-wise, there's a lot that he needs to work on, because when he's on the floor by himself, 12 turnovers, 9 turnovers. But when D Fox is on the floor, he doesn't have as many. And so we all know that stat line at this point. We've seen it. And so what we're really talking about is who wants this championship more, because OKC, they have the skill and they have the experience, which means if the Spurs let them, they're going to win this next game, clear them out. And even in the next game, if they let up, if that grit to win the championship isn't strong, they lose that game too. Game 6, Game 7, they lose both of those games if they don't win it enough. If they don't want it enough. Now, for the Knicks, right? We already knew the lights was too bright for them. I never actually thought the Cavs was making it past where they are. So I didn't think they was going to get 4-0. I did not believe that. But I thought the lights was too bright. I thought it was going to be like 4-2. But, yeah, when the lights is bright, you never know how your body is going to act. You know, that's the point of the quote. And so now all we're discussing really is how we feel the Knicks can react to whoever advances. I'm just going to guess, right? And I'm going to make another one talking about the statistics, analytics, how everything looks, and the logic behind them. But for right now, all we're going to do is we just going to talk about the Knicks and how their projection looks like with OKC. Let's say that. Let's take OKC for a while. So for OKC, we already know that OKC's been here, done that. So the Knicks are not going to only have to bring their hype self, but their best self. Every game is going to need to be perfect from the Knicks. And we're not talking about 100% field goals, nothing. No, but everybody doing their job and executing it effectively. So you think of Stephon Castle having 9 turnovers. They can't have that in this final championship, especially not the Knicks, because the Knicks don't have a Wemby that they can do turnovers like that for. You know, for every turnover you make, Wemby says, now I got to dunk twice. You don't have a player like that on the Knicks. And even if you did, he might not have, be able to affect it, like achieve it the way he's thinking about it. So we're talking about how a team will actually play out here. And with the Knicks, man, they're young, but they're hype. They hype, they live, they aggressive, And so I think the Knicks, honestly, also have a light brightness problem. You know, I think the lights is too bright for them. Obviously, this their first time in a championship for 30, 40 years. That's nerve-wracking. And so I think the worst thing that they can do is actually win that first game. Because if they win that first game, they might get too in their head. At the same time, this is a different type of team. They win that first game, it might make them understand that, hey, championship is 3 games away. We already beat this team just now. The reason that I say I think that they're gonna lose that first game is, again, lights too bright. That problem is bigger than people realize. I don't think that they're going to be prepared for that game. But the reason I think they can hang is because the Knicks have that grit to win the championship. But more than that, they have the momentum. I've been hearing that word about a gajillion times in the past 2 weeks, strictly because of this team. Their momentum is off the charts. They've been winning games since before the Cavs. And so what we have to really take into account is, like, look, we know we're a great team. They know that they're a great team. There's 3 factors that gives the Knicks an advantage in this series. 3 factors. Not over OKC, but over the Spurs, if we're talking about the Spurs. The Knicks have a great team. They got a great location, so they got great fans. But then they have, what's that patience that's necessary? They'll wait, man. They'll wait. They're not too overly headed in what they're doing. So just to say how it is, they might lose game 1 or win. But regardless, I see them really giving OKC a lot of bump for the championship. As for the Spurs, if they make it past OKC, they're not getting the championship. So, I mean, Wemby is great, but the rest of his team isn't him. And what we've seen with the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell couldn't drop 60 a game to bring that team up. Donovan Mitchell couldn't drop 70 a game to stop Harden from letting people blow past him. So what would you do if you're the Spurs, right? And Stephon's giving you 11 turnovers. Carter is sitting there having inside and mental and emotional battles. Like, this is understandable, as we all go through things and stuff. But a lot of the time, we don't see how what we might be going through is affecting what we're doing until after the fact. So I think that's what the Spurs position really is right now. I think they're building for the future, and as of right now, they're the best team in the league. But they're not gonna show you how good they are at playing. They're not gonna show you how good they are at playing. What they're gonna do is build that team from where it is now and get better next year, possibly win that year or the year after that. And then have this dynasty of a team that they had in Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, or the Bulls. Because, again, Wemby is the best player alive right now. This is without a fact. Potential is the best player alive right now. So that's what it is. That's what it is. We got an hour. Let's see what the Spurs do to OKC or vice versa. Let's get it, man.